Hello everyone. So today we're going to look at a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Active Watch 2 and the Apple Watch Series 4. Now, this would be applicable for the Apple Watch Series 5 as well, as they're pretty similar. So in today, I'm going to just look at how they are different and how they feel being used for a couple of months each. Now, I'm not going to talk about the hardware comparisons or the speed comparisons or anything like that. There's a lot of other videos that'll handle those comparisons. So today's video is going to mainly be about how do these watches feel in every single day use and my opinions on them and the different ecosystems between the two brands. So the first thing I want to talk about is just the feel and how it feels on the wrist. So both of these watches feel really nice, and they're both made out of very premium materials. They both have really great speakers on them and really great microphones on them. So if you're using them to connect a call or if just every day on the wrist, you can barely feel that they're on there, especially with these default active bands. So in that regard, I would say they're very similar. They have very similar sensors on them, and the build quality is overall just really good. So that's really not an area where we can make a very good comparison between them. One of the main things I use my watch for is for its workout capabilities. So it can track your heart rate and it can track the calories that you burn during a workout. And then it can sync with a whole bunch of other apps like Samsung Health or the Apple Health app. And then it can sync with a bunch of other apps like MyFitnessPal or whatever else you might use. So when I was using the Apple Watch, I feel like it did it flawlessly. So every day it would give you these three circles for, I think, standing, moving, and exercising. So that's kind of just Apple's terminology on them. But the most important thing is they work. So it actually shows you how long you've been standing for, how long you've been moving for, and how long you've been exercising for. I realized that every single time I started an exercise, the watch realized that I was doing something. Now, it might not register the perfect exercise every time. Like I could be, just doing some in-spot exercises like burpees, and it might think I'm, going for a walk or something. But at least it knows that I'm doing something. And it's very smart about it. And when I'm not doing something, it won't automatically register that. And when I'm doing my exercises, it will show me my heart rate. And it's very easy, I feel like, in this ecosystem to see all the information that you need to see. So whether you're looking for your heart rate or looking for, what type of activities you've done, it's very intuitive and very easy to do. But on the Galaxy Active 2, it's a little bit different. So on the Galaxy Active 2, it's not as intuitive. It's not as smart, I would say. Sometimes it thinks that I'm doing a workout when I'm actually not. For example, when I'm in the shower, it will think I'm going for a swim and it would start tracking laps. And after I get out of the shower and, come out and dry myself off, all of a sudden it'll start talking to me saying that you've completed 5 laps, good job, keep going. So it'll also do that sometimes if I'm just walking about the house or, if I'm folding laundry, it'll say, good job, you've completed 0.49 kilometers of a run. So in that regard, I don't think the Galaxy Active 2 is that smart. Now, if you go to the workout section, and I have it on this workout home screen because that's what I use it for the most, and you select an actual exercise, then it does it pretty well. So you actually have to tell it what you're doing, and perhaps there's an option to turn off the automatic exercise engagement, and that might be a little bit better. The heart rate monitor on both, I would say, work equally as good, and the GPS function work equally as good. So, another thing for the Galaxy Active Watch is the rejection for water is not that great. Now, it does have this pool mode. So you can turn on this little water mode if it'll focus. So if you turn on that water mode, it does the same thing as the water mode on the Apple Watch. So it essentially just blocks off all of the screen events, and you can't touch it. And then you turn the dial on this and you hold the bottom button on the Galaxy Active to dispel water. It just plays certain tones through the speakers. So whereas that function works well on both of them, when I'm wearing the Apple Watch, if I don't turn on the water function, it actually doesn't register accidental touches as much. Versus the Galaxy Active, if I shower with it and I don't turn on the water function, I'm definitely doing some random exercise or texting someone randomly or whatever. It just, every drop of water functions on this screen, and that's not a good thing. So I guess it's just not as smart that way. So yeah, in terms of workout, in terms of water rejection, I would definitely say the Apple Watch is way better. And that's also along the lines of just the Samsung is not as smart. So it's quite evident in everyday use. So for example, on my Apple Watch, I like to use an app called Stowcard. And what Stowcard does is it just keeps all of my reward cards in one spot. And you can also put all the cards into the Apple Wallet app, and then you can make payments with it and everything like that. So I did that. And I realized when I'm wearing this Apple Watch that every single time I go into a specific store, for example, here in Canada, we have a store called Shoppers Drug Mart, and there's a rewards program called PC Optimum. So I put my PC Optimum card on my Apple Wallet, and then I can access it by double tapping the home button down here, the power button. And when I do that, it brings up the card. But this watch is smart enough to know when I go into a Shoppers Drug Mart. And when I go into a Shoppers Drug Mart, it automatically pulls up the card. So that really shocked me. So when I first go into the store, it might not, right? But for some reason, it knows that right when I'm at the checkout, when I raise it on my wrist and I look at the watch, lo and behold, there's my PC Optimum card waiting to be scanned. So I would just, show the teller it, she would scan it, and then I would double press the button again to make a payment. And that brings me to another thing. So for payments, that's another thing that I use my watches for often is payments. And yes, they both have wireless, NFC payment functions. But the Apple Watch is substantially smarter in how it makes payments. So it knows when it's on your wrist, and it knows when you take it off your wrist. So if I put it on my wrist and I enter the passcode and I leave it on my wrist all day, I'll never have to re-input the passcode for that entire day. But the Galaxy Active doesn't know that. So for some reason, every single time I pay, and I think that's just how the app is built, Samsung Pay on this watch. So you hold the top button and then the payment prompt comes up. And then you have to enter your passcode every single time. So you enter in your PIN, and then it says Samsung Pay, and the app then loads. And then it takes a good second and a half, and this is all when you're at the register waiting to pay and everyone's looking at you, right? So you wait another second and a half, and then the Samsung Pay app comes on, and then you hit pay, and then it loads the card that you have on there, and then it's ready for NFC for 60 seconds. And for that 60 seconds, it just vibrates and it lets you know it's ready to go. So that whole process takes a good 4 to 5 seconds. And that's time that you're just standing in front of the cash register waiting to make the payment, right? Whereas this one, you just hold the power button and the card comes up and you tap it, and that's it. And if you didn't input your password sometime during that day and you hold the power button, well, it'll tell you input your password, you input it, and it's immediately ready to pay. Like the payment processing on this is always on. So that's such a smarter feature. And that paired with, it just knows when you're in certain areas of, in certain stores, and it's ready for that, your, rewards cards and things like that. Things that I didn't realize I needed, it gave me, and it made it a lot easier on my life. So that brings me to my next point. So I mentioned this watch, the Galaxy Active, vibrating. And when it does that, so there's something about the Apple Watch's vibration that I've always liked. And that's what made me stick to it all these years. So the Apple Watch makes it feel like it's touching you. I mean, it sounds weird, right? But literally, it feels like someone is tapping your wrist. And I don't know if they patented it or if for whatever reason, this haptic engine on this Apple Watch is just amazing. Since generation 1, I've realized that when you have it on your wrist and it vibrates, you can't hear it, as a bystander. It doesn't sound like something's vibrating. But you feel it really well. But this one, it vibrates. So if you're standing next to me and I have this, Galaxy Active watch on and it vibrates, you hear it. And it doesn't feel as refined as the Apple Watch. And this is a big issue because the vibrations are something that you feel with the watch almost, dozens, if not hundreds of times a day. Every single notification, every single thing that you do on the watch, it vibrates. So that's a big thing. This one has a better vibration haptics for sure, the Apple Watch. And whereas, I had all the original Samsung watches and the Active 1, this has made a big improvement. So the Active 2 is getting really close to the Apple Watch, but I would still say it's a good, maybe 30% off of how good this vibration is on the Apple Watch. And my next thing I want to talk about is the raise to wake. So that's another thing. Now, the newest Apple Watch, the Series 5, has the always-on display, but a lot of people don't like to use that because it drains battery. So I have the always-on display on for the Galaxy Active 2 when I wear it. And whereas that's nice, it's not the same as a good raise to wake function. So this watch, the Galaxy Active 2, will raise to wake, but not always. Like, it has to be a very obvious, it's on my wrist, it's off, and then I'm like raising it very obviously, and then it might wake. But if it's kind of like, I'm kind of playing around on the side and then I raise it, most of the time it doesn't raise to wake. But for the Apple Watch, it's way smarter. Every single time you want it to raise to wake, even if you trick it, like, you have your hand leveled and then all of a sudden you raise it up, it still raises to wake. So the Apple Watch is much smarter on that front. And yes, if you have the always on screen, I guess that kind of makes up for it, but sometimes it's for notifications. Sometimes it's for, a card that you need or whatever. So when you need to see the screen, it should turn on. But I find myself touching this button on the Galaxy Active 2 more than raise to wake. So that's an issue. And the next thing is, the buttons. So I feel like the buttons on the Galaxy Active 2 are not as intuitive because the top button is the easiest button to press when it's on your wrist if you wear it on your left hand. And that's the button that does nothing. I mean, it's the back button. And the bottom button is the one that brings up all the apps. So the top button, the easiest button, doesn't actually bring up the apps, and that's a problem. But for the Apple Watch, it's really intuitive. The top button brings up all the apps, and then the bottom button goes back. So I think that's how it should be. It's a very small detail, but it's something that you notice when you use it a lot. And the Samsung has this little touch bezel thing. I think it's pretty cool. I don't think either one is better or worse. So versus the touch bezel versus the digital crown on the Apple Watch, I think they're both pretty similar. So in terms of how they're designed and the button layout and everything like that, just the Samsung, the top button and the bottom button, I feel should be switched, but it's not a huge deal. Now, next is battery life. So battery life is huge for watches. Now, they're saying that you can wear this one to sleep and then charge it the next day or whatever, but you can't. Like, that's such a gimmicky thing that it's not going to work if you leave it on all night and then try to charge it in the morning. Yes, it does charge pretty quickly, but it doesn't charge fast enough in the morning that you can just charge it while you're taking a shower. Maybe in the future. But both of these battery lives are great. I think they both have sleep tracking. The Samsung one does for sure. I've tried it a couple times. I wouldn't use it just because the battery can't last the whole day the next day. So you have to consciously think about it. But battery life, I would say on the Samsung is probably a day and a half to 2 days. So usually I end the day with about 50 to 40% battery. And I would say similar to that on the Apple Watch Series 4, about a day and a half to 2 days. But there's something cool about the Samsung. So if you have one of these, like I do, the Galaxy S20 Plus, you can reverse wirelessly charge it. Now, why is this important? So I sleep in 2 bedrooms in my house because, sometimes I sleep in one, sometimes I sleep in the other one, just to change it up a little bit. And this only has one charger that it came with, right? The little puck that goes on the bottom of it. But sometimes, I keep that in one bedroom. And if I want to charge it in the other bedroom when I'm sleeping there, I don't have anything to charge it with. Well, now with my phone, I can reverse wirelessly charge it. So I plug in my phone to the USB-C, and then I put my Galaxy Watch on top of my phone, and that's just how it sits all night, and it charges by the morning. So that's pretty cool. But you have to put it in the perfect position for it to work. So it will take me about a minute and a half to get the perfect position. So it's somewhere below, I think it's somewhere around here, below the camera, in the middle, and then it starts showing you this thing that says, oh, you're in the perfect charging spot, or it's not perfect, and then you tweak it a little bit and it'll become perfect. So I've gotten pretty good at it, and I think it's charging now. So that's the perfect charging spot, and it charges pretty quickly. So I'm pretty happy with that reverse wireless charging capabilities. Versus the Apple Watch, you just have to get the little puck that comes with it, and you can get aftermarket ones, and you can keep them all around, but it doesn't have that capability of just being placed on any wireless charger. You need that proprietary Apple puck to charge this one. So it's a minor issue, but it's something that I noticed, and it's definitely something cool on the Galaxy. The last thing I want to talk about is the app ecosystem, and that's a big one because apps need to work on the Apple Watch. You don't just use it for notifications anymore. Whereas, yes, almost all apps can send notifications to the watch nowadays. Not all apps function natively on the watch. So, for example, I use a messaging app called WeChat, and that one on the Apple Watch has its own native app. Just like almost every app that I have on my iPhone transfers over to the Apple Watch. So it has tons of apps. All the apps that you would want, it has on here. And you can go into the app, you can use the app as if it was on your phone, in the watchOS ecosystem, but it's just as good. And you can type on it, and you can do voice dictation and everything like that. So that's important, because if I get a message on WeChat, I can reply via voice message or text message, or send a sticker or an emoticon or whatever on my Apple Watch. But on the Samsung, there's virtually no apps on there. You have Spotify, and that's about it. So you have the native Samsung apps, you have messages, and that's about it. Like, that's the only app that I really use on the Samsung Galaxy Active 2, and Spotify that runs natively. Everything else sends a notification, like if I have WeChat or WhatsApp or anything, it sends a notification and you can read it on the watch, but you can't reply. And the only option that you have on there, it says, is show on phone, and then you press that and then you can show it on your phone. So that's a huge thing for me. And if you can't tell already, I'm kind of this Apple Watch fanboy, because I really like how the Apple Watch was designed and built, and the whole app ecosystem around it. But the Galaxy Watch would be great if it had more apps, which it doesn't. Developers, for some reason, just don't develop Galaxy, watchOS apps. And there's an app store on the Galaxy wearables app on your phone. And, I'll show you on this other phone that I have. It's not connected to this phone, so it doesn't work perfectly, but there is an app store, and there is, like apps and widgets and things like that you can buy on here, but there's literally nothing on that app store. There's a couple watch faces, and they're all paid, and some really random, small individual developer apps, but nothing that's worth really using. And all the major apps that we're used to using every single day are on the Apple Watch, but it's not on the Galaxy. So I know I'm rambling a little bit, but that's a really big issue when you don't have the apps that you need. For example, you remember when I said Stocard and all the loyalty cards that I have on the Apple Watch? I can't get any of that on my Samsung. And Samsung Pay doesn't support a lot of payment methods. Like, I can get my American Express on there, but I can't get my Visa and a lot of other payment cards on that watch. So that does become an issue when you're not able to use all the apps that you're used to using on your watch. So, I had an iPhone for a very long time. And to be honest, the reason why I stuck with Apple for so long is because of the Apple Watch. Because this syncs perfectly with the iPhone, and the iPhone syncs perfectly with my iPad Pro, my MacBook Air, and I just did a comparison on those two. But the Apple ecosystem, you can't admit how powerful it is, and it's hard to get away from it. So I did try with this Galaxy Active 2 and with this S20 Plus. And whereas it's been a decent experience, I've noticed those are the features that I find myself really missing. And it's something that I notice every single day. You know, I'm in the shower, turns on swimming. I'm at the store, I'm waiting 5 seconds. You know, everybody behind me is wearing masks and staring at me and like, why is this guy trying to be cool to paying with his watch and taking so long, right? And I can literally take out my credit card in half the time and tap it. So this is supposed to make it easier. And in COVID, you want to use wireless payments, right? And they did increase tap limits so you can make larger purchases using tap. But you know, if you can't access it fast enough, it's not worth it. So that's my rant about these two watches. Now, if you're on Samsung or if you're on the Android system, well, this is a great watch. I'm just being very picky. But if you are actually comparing these two watches, the Apple Watch wins hands down in my opinion. And if this, for some reason, could work on my Samsung phone, I would use it for sure, but I know it can't. So, you know, this would actually make me want to switch back to iPhone. And I'm very excited for the new iPhone 12. And when it comes out and, you know, the new Apple Watches come out, I will probably switch again because that's just how good this Apple Watch is. If you're thinking about buying either one of these, you know, the Apple Watch Series 4 can be bought pretty cheap right now and a lot of discounts, especially on Amazon or even at your local trading market or something, or eBay. So I think this is a great purchase even right now. And I don't think the new Series 5 is worth it. And I don't know what the new Series 6 will bring until we see it. Now, the Active 2 is also a great buy. I picked up this one on Amazon for about 300 Canadian dollars, and I'll leave a link in the description below as to where you can pick it up. But you know, this is the best that it gets for Android, and this is the best that it gets overall, but it makes you switch to an iPhone. So that's my rant, that's my review. If you guys have any questions, or if you'd like me to do any tests between these two devices, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll definitely be happy to do that for you. And if you have any comments on just my videos or even either one of these devices, maybe something I missed, let me know as well. If you like my content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.